Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to Street Fighter V. Well, the time has come to talk about Season 3 Street Fighter V. Specifically, the Season 3 balance update that is going to be coming out very soon. In fact, it is coming out tomorrow for the game. We had something similar to this one last year as well. There was a so-called Season 2.5, so we might as well call this the Season 3.5 for the game. I think Capcom have rightfully realized that there are some things that need tweaking with the game. There are some characters that are way too strong, and there are some characters that are nigh unusable. We had kind of 3 major tournaments since the release of AE, and it is very clear who the top tiers are, because basically a lot of other characters do not even get any sort of representation, or they haven't been getting some recently. And I think the NorCal Regionals was one of the hypest tournaments I've seen so far this year, although all of them have been pretty hype, but these problems were apparent as well. A ton of Abigails, wouldn't say a ton of Menats, but you know, Menat basically dominated as well. A lot of Guiles, Guile proving himself to be very strong. And again, I don't know, it's good that Capcom is realizing that there need to be a couple of tweaks, both in terms of buffs and some nerfs. Now, I'm not going to be going over every single character because there's a ton in the game and a ton of them have received changes. Well, basically everyone received changes. So I'm going to be going over most of the characters in a few sentences. I will leave a link to in the description to this list or these patch notes if you want to check them out yourself. I'm going to be focusing on 5 characters that I play or I want to play. And these 5 are going to be Birdie, Zangief. I'm going to be talking about a couple that I feel like were on everyone's hit list, so Abigail and Rashid. And finally going to be discussing Colleen a little bit, but you know, I'll talk about everyone in a few sentences. But first, let's go ahead and discuss the general gameplay changes, which is surprising that the game is getting some major gameplay tweaks. Well, some of these are not that major. The biggest one is probably the first one, crush counters. Taking both rewards on hit and frequency into account changed the combo scaling on crush counters. This has been a thing that people complained about since the release of Street Fighter V. Essentially, some characters get way too much off of their crush counters. Well, actually everyone does, but you combine the fact that some characters have very safe or relatively safe spammable crush counter buttons. Certain characters basically just can stand around, hit their crush counter buttons, and whenever they score a hit, they can go into massive damage. So it looks like this is what they're trying to eliminate from the game. It looks like crush counters are still gonna be strong, they've always been strong. It's just that if you're one of these characters that has one of these all-purpose CC buttons, you're gonna be able to still throw it out, but maybe not get as much off of it as you could before. Now the next thing here regarding throw escapes, I'm gonna just explain this in a few short sentences as best as I can. This like almost seems specifically targeted at Akuma, and even more specifically Tokido. There is an option select in the game, although I think other characters have it as well, where if you input a special move and also throw, if the opponent tries to throw you, you will tag the throw. And if the opponent doesn't try to throw you, you will do the move and escape the corner. Again, Akuma is like the prime example. Tokido did this a lot, especially during Evo. It's a very, very powerful technique because you're basically safe either way. And from what I've seen, it is not something that was intended in the game. It is probably some sort of like programming, well, not glitch, but yeah, kind of like just like an error. And they're finally removing it. I don't know how it will affect the game, don't know how many characters have it. Again, I know specifically Akuma has something like this where he can use EX Demon Flip and Throw Tech depending on what your opponent does. But again, if it was not intended to be in the game, then I feel like it is only fair that it's removed. And finally, the last 2 changes: increased parameters for characters that have less reward on hit for throws. Yeah, completely fair, you know, there are some characters that do not get anything off of their throws, so you might as well have it deal more damage. And there's an overall rebalancing for V reversals, which does sound good because some characters like Colleen, Ed, I think even like Jury and some characters like that have just like absolute shit V reversals, just not even worth using. So let's get into the character specific stuff. Ryu just kind of general buffs for V-Trigger 1 and V-Trigger 2, increased damage. Ken, better rush down, a couple of tweaks to his EX Shinryuken, not his Shinryuken, his V-Trigger 2. Chun-Li, I think the most interesting change is that her V-skill can now be performed from cancelable moves, which is good because I feel like her V-skill never really had much use, to be honest with you. Outside of a very few specific combos and maybe starting your combo after crush counter, that didn't really have too much, you know, use just out in the neutral. You never see Chun-Li players just use this. So hopefully that's gonna give it some utility. Interestingly, Cammy is getting buffed. Cammy has been the most used character for the past 2 tournaments. So I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit weird that she's getting buffed. Not major buffs, but I don't know. I feel like she's gonna be really strong from now on, even though she was incredibly strong before that as well. M. Bison, couple of hitbox changes to his V-Trigger 2, and expanded the herb box for crouching heavy punch. It seems like they're really pushing for this to be his anti-air, which is only fair. Nash, few damage increasing buffs to his moves. Changes to his V-Trigger 2, which is V-Trigger 2 is a weird one. I thought everyone would use it because on paper it seems so much better than V-Trigger 1. But not many people are using V-Trigger 2. Well, to be fair, no one is using Nash anyways. Bonchan is the final remaining Nash, and it's kind of a testament to his skill, how well he's doing with the character comparatively. So hopefully these are changes that are going to be helping him. I'm not a major kind of expert on Nash, don't know too much about him, but these look okay. Alright, Vega, also damage increases on his throws. He can cancel V-Trigger into critical art on block, which I don't know why you would want to do that, but cool. Crimson Terror changes to the hitbox, and interestingly, not many changes to his wall dive. I feel like one of the biggest complaints with Vega was that they took away some control on his wall dive, but they're not giving it back to him. Dhalsim, very small changes, he's basically staying the same. Alright, here's the first character I want to discuss, Zangief. This is really weird. Zangief is not getting any major buffs. I feel like most people agree that the 2 characters that had the biggest drop between Season 2 and Season 3 were probably Zangief and Ibuki. And Zangief especially. I mean, you have a dude called Itabashi Zangief who's not using Zangief, he's using Abigail. And I think it's just kind of weird because he's basically said that Zangief is just not good enough. He still has his Vortex, which he always had, but I agree, Zangief just struggles, he struggles a lot. So some of these changes seem weird to me, like Flying Headbutt reduced the stun from 400 to 200. I think what they're trying to avoid here is he has some one-hit stun combos with V-Trigger 2. Maybe they're trying to avoid that, but the biggest surprise for me is that he's not actually getting any major buffs. I mean, at least give his light punch back, his crouching light punch, but it's just nothing. Interestingly, Thunderstorm, opponent's stun gauge will not recover during the animation lock. They are still trying to push this move. Every single patch, I see that they're buffing Thunderstorm, his counter, and no one still uses it. No one. It's such a like situation specific move. Yeah, no one. I've not seen anyone use this thing. But you know, I guess cool. Stun gauge will not recover. Yeah, whatever. Karin, couple of buffs from what I've seen to her frame data. It seems like she's getting better frames but less damage, which I don't know how it will affect her. I think especially recently we've really started to see that Karine, while being extremely good, is definitely not as good as everyone thought she was, and she got some nerfs as well. So I don't know, hopefully this will help her, because I do like Karine. Mika, not many changes. She got more damage on Rainbow Typhoon, which is I think one of her throws. Now this is my homie, Birdie. He's my main character, so I was most interested in seeing what changes he's getting, and he's not getting much. He's getting technically, quote unquote, a couple of nerfs. Stun decrease on forward throw, you know, fair enough. His crouching medium punch has been very, very slightly tweaked. It has less active frames and more recovery, which is completely fine when you have a move with a hitbox as ridiculous as crouching medium punch. There should be some offset. There currently is basically no offset to using this move. It is the all-purpose, all-around anti-air. So, you know, I don't mind it too much. It's probably gonna be just as good as it was before. I mean, one frame is not much. Interestingly, they are nerfing crouching heavy kick, and to me it seems like they're bringing it in line with some of the other sweeps in the game. I mean, this was always the sweep that stood out, with being sometimes safe on block. I think the biggest change here is the expanded hurt box. To me it seems like you will be able to punish this if you block it, so you know, again, I can't say that that's too bad. Again, it was the odd one out of all the sweeps in the game. This is the only one that behaved in such a weird way, maybe with the exception of Abigail's. His is the only other one I can think of that doesn't follow kind of standard sweep rules. And, you know, increased V-reversal startup, so I don't know how much that will help. I never use V-reversal anyways. More interestingly, he's not actually getting any changes to V-trigger 2 specifically, which I feel like is weird because that thing is, I feel like is so useless that, I don't know, he should at least get something, but I guess Capcom doesn't think that way. Necalli, a couple of damage increases. I think the biggest thing is he can cancel into, V-trigger from his EX moves. Fair enough. I mean, I feel like Necalli's main problem is that he's just I don't know, like Valium made into a character, or any other like NyQuil made into a character. He just puts you to sleep. He's incredibly boring to watch and to play, and you know, that is kind of a separate issue from his frame data and all that. But you know, still like Necalli. I mean, it's just, I wish his gameplay was a little bit more dynamic. Now Rashid is getting destroyed. So people who play Rashid, I would say enjoy him today, enjoy him while he lasts, because he's getting so many damn nerfs. Basically all of his frame data is getting nerfed. Standing light kick, standing heavy punch, standing medium kick. Basically all of his buttons that are incredibly good, which he has a lot of. Like Rashid has so many, as I mentioned at the start, so many moves that he can just throw out there without any sort of thought or care, because they're plus, they have good hitboxes, so hopefully that is gonna be changed from here. Interestingly, his standing light kick is now cancelable, which, I don't know, I feel like that might actually help him. One thing I'm really happy about is his wall jump. They increased the interval between clinging to the wall and jump by 2 frames. His wall jump was essentially impossible to punish. I've never once managed to punish it. It seems like his hitbox was decreased when he was on the wall jump, specifically clinging to the wall. So hopefully this time you will have an actual way of punishing Rashid if he does the wall jump. Because the problem with Rashid is just he has so many ways out of the corner. He can do the EX Eagle Spike, which is essentially safe, travels through the opponent. He has an invincible EX Wake Up. He has really good buttons, and he has a wall jump. It's just so many things that allow him to escape. So decreasing one of the options is a pretty good start. Pushback on block slightly decreased for light spinning mixer. More whiff recovery, block stop increased by 4 frames. Again, just nerfs overall. This is a major one. Again, talking about the corner escape. Change so that Rashid will bounce off the opponent when blocked. Yeah, this thing was just like incredibly strong. Anytime you wanted to get out of the corner, just hit them with the EX Eagle Spike. I think this is a very good change, because now he, just like any other character, will have to either risk doing an EX wake up, and you know, he still has his wall jump to get out, so you know, I feel like this is as fair a change as you could have for this character, because to be fair, this character is ridiculous. Like his offense, his special moves, everything is just way too strong. Couple of damage decreases, and Altair less invincibility, or changed invincibility. Interestingly, his V-Trigger 2, which is called Esifa, was mentioned here somewhere, is not getting any changes, so we'll see what happens there. I feel like Rashid is gonna be slightly nerfed, however, just the core toolkit of the character is very good, and they don't seem to be really changing that, so who knows. I think he'll still be a fairly strong contender. Maybe. He might get nerfed to the ground, I don't know. Laura, it looks like she's getting a couple of kind of frame data changes, as well as not even damage changes, mainly just a couple of changes to her Matsuda Sway, her V skill, and they increased the timer, they doubled it for her V Trigger 2, which I feel like is still going to be useless. Fung, couple of hitbox changes and all that, but I don't know, I feel like Fung is pretty good at this stage of the game. It's just no one is using him, and I don't know why, because I feel like he can compete. It's just maybe people don't want to take the time to figure him out, because he does seem like a character you have to put a fair bit of time into to learn, and I don't know. I wish more people used Fung, because he is probably my favorite newcomer in Street Fighter V. I really like Fung. Alright, Alex. Mainly frame data and damage changes, buffs mostly, so hopefully he's gonna be even more viable. They keep buffing him, but I feel like he's still not the best. Hopefully now is finally gonna be the time for Alex to shine. Alright, Guile, couple of changes to his special moves, some normal changes, and his V-Trigger 2 is getting a few nerfs, so that is very good, because once again, with Season 3, any use V-Trigger 1 had was basically gone, because V-Trigger 2 was so dominant. So hopefully this is gonna bring back the fact that he can actually use V-Trigger 1 as well. Alright, Ibuki, some damage increases on the throws, and Fuma Shuriken getting some changes, which will be good. Kazakiri, which I think it's her V-Trigger 1. I don't know the move names, that's a problem, but that's getting some changes. Barog, the biggest one is will combo, I mean no mercy, his V-Trigger 2 will combo when performed from a cancelable normal move, just like Bison's stuff. So that's very good, because now he will actually have a consistent way of applying this V-Trigger 2, which he didn't really have before. You had to basically take a risk to use it. Jury, don't know much about Jury, but there seem to be some damage and frame data changes, not much. Urien, they basically are touching the V-Trigger 2. I think, yeah, they changed the length, but also increased the consumption. So I feel like they want you to use this less, because it is basically like Abigail's Metro charge as well, so very strong. Akuma is looking like he's getting a couple of, once again, frame data changes. Nothing major. Akuma, I feel like, is always going to be fairly strong in this game. Now, this is who I want to talk about, Colleen. What they're doing is they're changing mainly just a couple of quality of life stuff. I feel like Colleen has always been very good, especially now with this season, her V-Trigger 2. But some of the things to mention, crouching light punch, delay the timing for cancelling into absolute 0 by 3 frames. So I don't think she can now use this to make, basically have a safe activation. Hitbox stuff, the most interesting one is to her crouching heavy kick. They unified the timing for all her moves. Essentially, one of the problems with Colleen, one of the weird things is that all of the special moves and the V triggers she could do off of crouching heavy kick had different timings, which I don't think any other character had that, although not many characters have cancelable heavy kicks, but whatever, it's good to have unified timing, again, quality of life stuff. Cold Low, same, unified cancel timing, quality of life. Brimsicle, same thing. These are all her target combos. Frostbite can cancel into absolute zero, which is fairly interesting. And probably, yeah, Frost Edge. Increase the V timer consumption from 500 frames to 1000 frames, except when used from a dash. So yeah, this will mean that, she'll get like 2 of them at max. Change so that it will not hit opponents who are behind Colleen. This is the thing, this was one of the strong setups that you could go behind your opponent and hit them from behind with Frost Edge, which I'm fairly sure wasn't intended, so it's good that they're taking it away. They're not actually changing Absolute Zero too much. I feel like that thing would have been hit a lot harder, but it still looks like the dominant V-trigger. They're increasing the damage of Diamond Dust, but do you really want to use it? I'm not sure. I don't know. She's still gonna be, I think, incredibly dominant. Also, they increased her forward dash in V-trigger, the consumption. So, yeah, I mean, I guess you could say some nerfs, but they're not touching like the advantage from the Hailstorm that she gets. And this is such a strong V-trigger that I don't know what they could do to it to make it like really obsolete. But again, I'm happy with the changes here, quality of life, and I'm for sure gonna be picking Colleen up. I've played her, but I haven't really played her since Season 3 came out, which is weird because she's really strong now. But I think now is the time to go with Colleen. Menat, interestingly, is still getting buffed a little bit, not much, but mainly to her Soul Reflect, her V skill. They are increasing the V gauge meter, which is weird because she's gonna be getting even better, or like she's gonna be getting her stuff even quicker, and they're actually nerfing Soul Spark a little bit, which is, I feel like is good because that is such a overall kind of just like a very, very good move. Wait, what is this? Change the command from forward down, down forward punch. Oh, and apparently you now do it with the kick, which is good because then there is no chance of it kind of missing, not even missing, but of you doing an accidental input, and they're making it into a quarter circle motion, which, you know, she only has technically 2 special moves, so you might as well put them on different buttons, you know. Again, just to avoid any sort of missed inputs. Ed, frame data changes to his Psycho Snatcher. It still doesn't look very good out in the neutral, the Psycho Snatcher. Increased damage on his projectile, and a couple of changes to Enhanced Snatcher. It's weird to me that V-Trigger 1 is not getting touched, but, you know, who am I kidding? Well, actually, wait, Psycho Barrage. Fuck, I don't know the move names. I'm so used to seeing the commands always that it always throws me off, but I think... Fuck, I seriously don't know what his V-Trigger 1 is called. It's not this, right? It's not. Alright. Public enemy number 1, Abigail. I've talked about this before, I think in one of my other Street Fighter videos, but I think Abigail gets so much shit because he is very strong, like they for sure overbuffed him, but he is like a very visible character, you know what I mean? He's loud, he looks weird, and combined with the fact that he's incredibly strong, I think this is what made him really into public enemy number 1. I mean, everyone is playing Abigail, or at least has a secondary with Abigail. Interestingly, the character didn't have too many good showings. None of the major Abigails except Storm Kubo, again, really had any serious tournament placement. But on top 16 and top 32s, he was definitely the most seen character. He still has some bad matchups where he really struggles, but reduced vitality, very happy about, because this character just wouldn't fucking die. You hit him with like a huge combo and it feels like you barely scratched him. He is getting more stun though, which, I don't know. It's like impossible to stun him now as well, so... You know, it's interesting that his health and stun will be now in line with each other. Other than that, the biggest kind of obvious changes is... He's actually getting a change to his hurt shape. Change the height of his hurt box and collision box for spinning knockdown damage. Abigail has the weirdest hurt box in the game, and it does actually cause a few problems. Most noticeably sometimes with jump-ins, but if they are changing it will be, I think, a fairly good change. Other than that, throw changes. Biggest thing is crouching light punch. Increased frames, crouching light kick, I think increased pushback, and can only be cancelled into V-trigger, which is very good because his crouching light kick was his best normal. The fact that he could cancel it into like crouching light kick, standing light kick into EX Abigail punch, one of the strongest sequences in the game. So good that that's getting changed. Other than that, really kind of nerfs on his big buttons. As you can see, Abby Blaster and Abby Twist, especially Abby Twist. The startup on this move is insane. It's one of the fastest, I think, heavy normals in the game. So yeah, but only the charge version is getting touched because, well, I mean, that's the thing that people want. His combos when he had V-Trigger 1 and charge was absolutely insane. I mean, he can do like 80% combos on Akuma with the V-Trigger and all that. So I feel like these changes will be fairly good. V-reversal stuff, you know. Giant flip is getting damage decreased and stun decrease. Also a very strong move. I mean, one of his BMBs, you know, like button into EX giant flip, into something else, into Abigail punch. So much stun and damage, so that's gonna be good. Especially for 1 meter, you know. You should deal a little bit less damage. Same with EX. Like Abigail smashes his command grab. So yeah, decreased damage, expanded hurt box. Basically happy with what they're doing to Abigail. I mean, they're not killing the character, which I'm happy about, because to be honest, I do have a soft spot for Abigail. His big combos are hype to watch. I don't mind the character as much as other people, but again, he's like a very obvious character to kind of shit on, and because he's just so visible. They are actually buffing the Metro Crash, his V-Trigger 2, just to bring it in line with V-Trigger 1. I mean, V-Trigger 2 was with Abigail was basically just non-existent. So I don't know. I feel like this might help him, although what I would have liked to see is to make max power into a 3-bar V-Trigger as well, but it looks like that's not happening because I feel like a character with 1075 health should not have a 2-bar V-Trigger because it's just, he can like easily get it twice in a match, but I don't know. Who am I to say? I'm not Capcom. So yeah, they're buffing for sure V-Trigger 2 and a couple of changes to Abigail punch, like whiff recovery and less damage, both on normal and EX. Zeku, my biggest problem with Zeku is that I don't know his move names because I never really used him, so I can't really comment on this. He seems to be getting buffed mainly, which is good because Zeku is, well, not the best. In fact, he is probably in the lower tiers, the lowest tier, I should say. So it should be good. Stun increase, damage increase. We'll see. I feel like Zeku is a hype character. It just, he has like very obvious core problems, which feels like need to be addressed. He feels like 2 half-completed characters stuck together in a way that does not make one complete character, unfortunately. That's the main thing I get with Zeku. So hopefully this will help him. Sakura, I think most people agree as well that Sakura needs some changes as well. Throw changes, it looks like she's getting light punch, like the hitbox changes and a couple of frame data stuff. Okyu, oh goddamn, that's difficult to pronounce. Okuyaku, I don't know, butchering that. I don't know, again, I'm not too familiar with her move names. I think that's her V skill, yeah, I'm fairly sure, which is good because her V skill is useless. Hadoken changes, increased damage, you know, startup, better startup, so they're just like really helping Sakura out. I mean, she is the second newest character, so you know, new characters need tweaks here and there, and I think it's become obvious that Sakura just cannot hold her own, even though she has some stuff, very good walk speed, basic Shoto advantages. She just cannot hold her own against a lot of the other characters, so it would be good to change her. And finally, Blanka. I don't actually own Blanka yet. I wanted to get him, but I've just been putting it off because he's such a scummy character. He's very annoying to fight against, but he seems to be getting a few buffs as well, which I don't know how much he needs. I feel like online he's very annoying, but competitively no one really seems to be doing well with him, and I have heard that people think he has some core problems, so hopefully that's gonna fix that, although it's not gonna help how annoying he is to fight online, but that is a different beast, you know. Blanka has always been like that. He was always a pain in the ass online. So that's about it for the patch notes. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Street Fighter V. First time I kind of talked about in depth for a patch, but I think I'm going to be doing this in the future. And also I'm going to be checking some of these out tomorrow as well when the patch actually hits. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.